Ozark Highlands Radio is brought to you by the Ozark Folk Center State Park in Mountain View, Arkansas. A wonderful way to enjoy yesterday. On the web at ozarkfolkcenter.com. And by Stone Bank, a community bank supporting entrepreneurs and farmers nationwide, with loans guaranteed by the USDA, SBA, and Farm Services Agency. Learn more at stonebank.com. And the Arkansas Arts Council, empowering the arts for the benefit of all Arkansans. On the web at arkansasarts.org. And by the Committee of 100 for the Ozark Folk Center, preserving Ozark folk culture since 1974 through music roots, craft apprenticeships, and the Heritage Herb Garden. Learn more at ofc100.org.
Howdy, folks. This is Dave Smith, host of Ozark Highlands Radio. Welcome to our show. This week, we'll be hearing great music from Toronto, Canada old-time trio, the Lonesome Ace Stringband. Down in the vault, our producer Jeff Glover has found an archival recording of Ozark singer Lisa Weedy, and Aubrey Atwater discusses the song Jamestown Homeward Bound. All that this week on Ozark Highlands Radio. Once a year, the Ozark Folk Center State Park in Mountain View, Arkansas holds a string band festival featuring groups of musicians who specialize in old-time Southern Mountain fiddle music. At this year's event, one of those bands, the Lonesome Ace Stringband, came all the way from Toronto, Canada, and wowed us with their versions of some traditional and contemporary tunes.
From the Lonesome Ace Stringband.
me and John have been playing together in bands for 25 years straight as of next year. And this band sort of came out of we played in a 5-piece bluegrass band called the Foggy Hogtown Boys. Hogtown is what people call Toronto. And we did that many years. And then John, myself, and our bass player, Max Malone, we got a brunch gig, but didn't really pay enough for a 5-piece band. So the three of us always enjoyed playing old time music, because I was playing mostly guitar in the bluegrass band, but banjo is my first instrument. And so we decided to take it as an opportunity to play some old time music as a trio. And that's how the band came about. And we played every Saturday and Sunday for, I think, about 7 years before we made a record or even really played out of town it was really a bar band. And then we started doing some recording and reaching out a little bit and touring and playing different types of venues, more concert type venues like this one. And right before the pandemic, Max moved out to central British Columbia, which is really far, it's in the middle of nowhere. Anyways, Max moved up there and he had 2 kids. And so it made it a little tricky. He's about 8 hours from a major airport. So it's made it a little tricky. So he stepped back. Now he's still a part of the band. He still probably does half our tours with us. And it's so fun when we do have a tour. We have a tour of the Northwest in a couple weeks, and Max will be on it. And that'll be great because it'll be putting on an old pair of shoes, yeah. In a good sense. But it's exciting to work with other musicians, and which is great. And we've got a great player tonight with us named Ethan Hawkins.
If you will listen, the song I will sing about my daddy who ran a log train way down in the Southland in old Alabama. We lived in a place that they called Chapman Town. And every evening when the sun was low, way off in the distance you could hear the train blow. Well, the folks would come running and Mama would sing. But the supper on the table, here comes the log train. And every morning at the break of day, he'd grab his lunch bucket and be on his way. In the winter, in the summer, in the sunshine or rain, and every morning he'd run that old log train. Well, sweating and swearing all day long, he'd shout, "Get up there, oxen, keep moving along." Oh, load her up, boys, 'cause it looks like rain. I've got to get rolling this old log train. Well, this story happened a long time ago, and the log train is silent. God called Dad to go. But when I get to heaven, to always remain, I'll listen for the whistle of your log train. Yes, I'll listen for the whistle of the old log train.
That's John Showman there. One of the tunes that we'll be playing tonight is a cover of Stage Fright, which is written by Robbie Robertson, and as I'll probably say in the introduction of the tune, we have so many great songwriters from Canada, yes. But in 2023 we lost Lightfoot and we lost Robbie. And the band has always been, the band is my favorite band, and we're really proud of them up in Canada because everybody was from Canada except for Levon.
That's right. He was from Arkansas.
He was from Arkansas, yeah. But the rest of all the other members of the band were Canadian. And that tune is just, I've always loved it. I found it so haunting. And the longer I'm a musician, the more I can relate to. But I think it's just the greatest song that for capturing what I think so many of us, just some of like the terror that we feel at moments in this business. So I love that song. I love playing that song.
Deep in the heart of a lonely kid, suffered so much for what he did. I gave that plowboy his fortune and fame. Since that day he ain't been the same. See the man with the stage fright, standing up there to give it all his might. He got caught in the spotlight. he gets to the end, he gets to start all over again. Got fire water right on my breath. The doctor warns me I might catch my death. Says you could make it in your disguise. Just never show the fear that's in your eyes. See the man with the stage fright, standing up there to give it all his might. He got caught in the spotlight, and when he gets to the end, he gets to start all over again. Now if he says that he's afraid, better take him for his word. 'Cause for the price the poor boy paid, he gets to sing just like a bird. Brow is sweating and your mouth gets dry. Fancy people go drifting by. The moment of truth is right at hand. It's one more nightmare that you can't stand. See the man with the stage fright, standing up there to give it all his might. He got caught in the spotlight. When he gets to the end, he gets to start all over again.
You've been listening to the Canadian trio Lonesome Ace Stringband. They began that set with The Crossing. Next, they played a song written by Dan Emmett in 1843, The Boatman's Dance, followed by the last song written by Hank Williams Sr., Log Train. The boys ended that set with Stage Fright, written by another Canadian, Robbie Robertson, in 1972. Let's take a short break. When we return, it's time for my weekly trip down to the vault. This is Ozark Highlands Radio. Welcome back to Ozark Highlands Radio. Well, I said earlier we were going to take a trip down to the vault, something I always enjoy doing. Let's go down right now.
Hey, Dave, how's it going
Hi,
today?
Jeff, things are well. How are you?
Just fantastic. I hope all is well out at the farm.
It is. Things are good. The weather's been pretty good. Hey, what have you been listening to down here? What's been going on?
You know, I found a really interesting song, Dave. It's somewhat unsettling. I'll let you listen to it, but it was sung here in 1984 by a girl named Lisa Weedy.
Oh, yeah, I remember Lisa.
Yeah, she still has family that sings here at the Folk Center.
Yep.
And this is a song called John Martin Duffy that I was unfamiliar with.
I've never heard of it myself.
It's a traditional song, and it's one of these that nobody knows where it came from. But it's got some interesting lyrics. Let's listen to it and see what you think.
Okay.
Well, John Martin Duffy was judge of our court in a small ranching town in the West. And although he knew nothing about the rules of the law, for judge he was one of the best. One night in the winter a murder occurred, the blacksmith accused of the crime. They caught him red-handed, and though he had 2 trials, the verdict was guilty each time. Now he was the only good blacksmith we had. We wanted to spare him his life. So Duffy rose up in his court like a lord, and with these words he settled the strife. I rule we discharge him, we need him in town. Then he spoke out the words that gained him renown. There's 2 Chinese laundrymen everyone knows. Why not save the poor blacksmith and hang one of those? Well, John Martin Duffy was judge of our court in a small ranching town in the West. And although he knew nothing about the rules of the law, for judge he was one of the best.
Gosh, Jeff, that's a great song, but what a strange story.
You know, I don't think you could get away with singing this song in public these days. It's one of those songs.
Yeah, absolutely. That shows you actually how much times have changed. Since when was it? 1978?
Well, this was recorded in 1984.
84, okay.
Yeah. Went back and listened to it again to make sure that it was saying what I thought it was saying. And yeah, just one of those types of songs that, you know, is indicative of a time period and the way people thought at one time. And
that's right. And knowing Lisa, I'm sure it's a traditional song. It's probably a song from a long time ago.
Right, yeah. Right. Hey, you can say this. It's an interesting piece of
that it is,
Americana.
yep.
Yes.
Well, look, thanks a lot for sharing that with us.
Absolutely, Dave. Have a good day.
I'll see you next week.
All right, bye-bye.
Let's get back to more music from the Lonesome Ace Stringband. The trio's sound is anchored in the fiddle and clawhammer banjo of John Showman and Chris Coole. Here they are playing a fine fiddle tune from Kentucky fiddler J.P. Fraley.
He played a tune called Over the Road to Maysville, and John Hartford got that tune, and any tune that John Hartford gets his hands on goes through the John Hartford filter. So it kind of came from J.P. Fraley, went through the John Hartford filter, and we heard that, and then now it's gone through the Chris and John filter, and we'll play you what we've come up with.
I mean, I had none of this type of music in my background. I've lived in downtown Toronto my entire life.
Wow.
There's no country music in the background of my family, really. And I didn't grow up hearing it. Another part of the puzzle for me is I fell in love with the Andy Griffith Show when I was about probably 11 or 12 years old.
Interesting.
I've loved it since I was a little kid. Like anytime I heard this stuff, I always thought it was the best music there was, but I had no clue what it was because I never saw anyone do it, and there was never happened. And so by the time I figured out what it was, I was about 17 and I got my first banjo. It was definitely like I knew that this was something from far away that had nothing to do with me, but I really felt a connection to it, and it was just so mythical. And I loved that aspect of it. And yeah, that's my story. And I've just been doing it ever since. Right out of high school, I started. When I was in high school, I was busking already. As soon as I got a banjo, I started playing on the streets. And then all through my 20s, that's what I did for my living. I was a street musician.
He went down one night in a driving rain to a bullet from the FBI. Well, they propped him underneath an apple tree, waited for pretty boy Floyd to die. And the cops all stared in disbelief. They've been hunting him for so long. There's Charles Floyd slowly bleeding out, public enemy number one. With a book full of warrants and a long list of crimes, and everyone bearing his name. Even if he'd only done half those things, he was good enough to hang. Not many people would have given Pretty Boy up. He was loved all across the land. But these were cold, hard years, and money buys ears when enough money changes hands. Pretty boy Floyd lifted his head. He started to cough, and his mouth turned red. His face was ashen, and his voice was weak. But his eyes were smiling, and he began to speak. And he said, "Whoa, you've got me dead to rights this time. And it's nice to finally meet you all, and I must say the pleasure's mine. You run me all over Oklahoma, Ohio, and Missouri too. I never set out to be famous, now you made me the headline news. Here I am, the great distraction, and they love me on Capitol Hill, because I'm the one writing your paycheck, oh, the Senate just stamps a bill. Some men will rob you with a 6-gun, others rob with a fountain pen, and I never took a dime from anyone who hadn't robbed 100 innocent men. Pretty boy Floyd closed his eyes, oh, because he knew the time had come to die. And there he passed into verse and song, and in story he lives on and on and on and on. He went down in the dust in a noonday sun to a bullet from the FBI. Nobody really knows what happened. The story kept changing as the years rolled by. But they dressed him up nice, they put him on display at the town of Sallisaw. Over 20,000 Oklahoma residents came pay respect to a dead outlaw. The times are still tough, not very much has changed between now and then. Guns go for dimes, and much bigger crimes are committed with a paper and pen. And it feels like the country is run by thieves, like it was a pretty boy's day. And that's why we all need outlaws, cause someone's gotta make them pay. He went down in October in 34 to a bullet from the FBI. Well, they propped him underneath an apple tree, waited for pretty boy Floyd to die. Thank you.
I was just going to record stores, used record stores, and I'd find the odd thing. You know, I'd find a Little Roy Lewis album. I might eventually find Echoes of the Ozarks, the County album, you know, and like I pieced this thing together, and it was so, and I read every word of the liner notes. Anything I could get. Fret's magazine was a thing at the time. And it was just, I just read everything because it was like I was trying to figure out. There was this thing. It was like there was this mythical land where this beautiful music was coming from, and I'd never been to it, but I wanted to know everything about it that I could. So yes, it was definitely. I realized at that point that it was a faraway thing. And luckily, when I was in about 1920, I started to get chances to go down south, first to Virginia, and then I spent a couple summers down at the Augusta Heritage Center down in West Virginia. So I got a chance to visit this place and see a bit of, you know, a little sliver of this sort of mythical thing that I'd built up in my mind.
The creeks and the hollers and
yeah.
Well, the Jubel Swain is a mighty fine boat, got a mighty fine captain too. Got a big red wheel, goes round and round, and a bunch of old hippies for a crew. Well, I can't stay here, I gotta get away. I'm a Chattanooga, Tennessee bound. I'm gonna get my banjo, put it on my back when the Julia Bell comes down. When the Julia Bell comes down. When the Julia Bell comes to Peoria, you know that summer's here. Up on the Illinois River, it's the very best time of the year. Those steamboat days in August, like a lazy, hazy dream. Wanna be at the foot of Main Street when the Julia Bell raises steam. When the Julia Bell raises steam. Moon and Bob Burnett and Doc and Laurie too. Our one big steamboat family, the Julia Bell steamboat crew. On me, I tell you, I gotta get away. I'm a Chattanooga, Tennessee bound. Gonna get my banjo, put it on my back when the Julia Bell comes down. When the Julia Bell comes down. Well, the Julia Bell Swain is a women's live boat, the first I ever knew. Got girls in the pilot house and girls on deck and a lady in the engine room. Well, Donna, she's got her license and Cindy's learned to steer. Little Julie keeps Moon out of trouble by wandering off everywhere, by wandering off everywhere. When the Julia Bell gets on a steamboat race, she's a mighty hard boat to beat. She beat the Belle of Louisville, she beat the Delta Queen. She'll need no help to get her turned around, she'll come right round on a dime. After the race, she heads up the river, 'cause the Julia Bell still got time. Yeah, the Julia Bell still got time. Well, I sure do love Tennessee River, the Ohio and the Illinois. Oh, I love the old Mississippi River, it's a good old place for a boy. Just to step on board a steamboat, ride all the way to the sea. Where else but a muddy old river would a person wanna be? Would a person wanna be? Well, I come up the river the other night, darker than the inside of a cow. Ain't nothing like a crooked old river to straighten my head right out. Oh, I love my love pretty as can be, and I love to bring her down. The pretty ladies really like to ride when the Julia Bell comes down. When the Julia Bell comes down.
The Lonesome Ace Stringband, playing J.P. Fraley's tune Over the Road to Maysville. That was followed by an original tune about Oklahoma bank robber Pretty Boy Floyd, and a song written by the late musician and steamboat captain John Hartford, the Julia Bell Swain. When we come back after this break, our friend Aubrey Atwater will give us the lowdown on a famous seafaring song. You're listening to Ozark Highlands Radio. Welcome back to Ozark Highlands Radio. This week, Rhode Island step dancer and musician Aubrey Atwater has a story about an interesting song of the sea.
The farmer's heart with joy is filled when the crops are good and sound. But who can feel the wild delight of the sailors homeward bound? For 3 long years have passed away since we left old Freedom Shore. Our long-felt wish has come at last, and we're homeward bound once more. And we're homeward bound once more. To where the sky is clear as the maiden's eye who longs for our return. To the land where milk and honey flows and liberty was born. Fill our sails with the favoring gales and with shipmates all around. We'll give 3 cheers for our starry flag and the Jamestown homeward bound. And the Jamestown homeward bound.
Oh, the joy of homecoming for sailors returning from long voyages in seafaring history, a well-known theme in an occupation defined by high adventure, separation, danger, and distance. You just heard traditional song curators Jeff Davis and Jeff Warner singing mid-19th century song, The Jamestown Homeward Bound, in 1987. Here in Rhode Island, I have a family history that includes sailing, shipping, boat building, sailmaking, clamming, and fishing, and I live in a waterfront town that was once a whaling and oyster port, part of the nefarious triangle trade, and still is a boat building and fishing center with delicious seafood and beautiful water views. My father, born in 1920, was a sailor, fisherman, and marine museum curator. When I was growing up, we had nautical objects and works of art in our home, such as a brass and wooden ship steering wheel, scrimshaw, sailors' valentines, meticulously crafted ship models, ships in bottles, and many paintings of boats. I knew how to tie a bowline and a masthead, dig my own clams, and sail a sunfish by the time I was 10 years old. Some of the sailing voyages in history were, astonishingly, years long, as you heard referenced in the song. I often wonder what food and sleeping and work conditions were like when I listen to lyrics that give us glimpses of life at sea. I also like to point out that these historical sea songs have traveled far and wide over centuries and were and still are sung by people who settled in landlocked places such as Appalachia and the Ozarks. The Jamestown Homeward Bound was sourced by Davis and Warner from a 1938 book by Joanna Colcord. That fact sparked some side research for me into why a woman wrote a book like that. Turns out, Colcord, a captain's daughter, was born on a ship in 1882 and spent her entire youth at sea, witnessing the rough work and lives of sailors, nautical vernacular, and the rowdy, beautiful, and distinctive songs of seafaring life. In 1922, Colcord began formally collecting American songs of the sea, resulting in 3 books essential to folk music history. In her book, Songs of American Sailormen, she refers to the U.S. Navy sloop of war built in 1844, named after Jamestown, Virginia. The ship sailed worldwide with operations to suppress the slave trade off West Africa, aid in the Irish famines and American Civil War, serve as a hospital ship, and more. I find this anthemic song, which was popular in the Civil War and with the Navy, particularly poignant and also, of course, dated when viewed through a modern lens. Here, New England sea music group Forbidder sings an a cappella version of the song at the Mystic, Connecticut Seaport Sea Music Festival in 2012.
Where the sky is clear as the maiden's eye who longs for our return, to the land where milk and honey flows and liberty it was born. So fill our sails with the favoring gales and with shipmates all around. We'll give 3 cheers for a starry flag and the Jamestown homeward bound. To the Mediterranean shores we've been and its beauties we have seen. Italy's long and lofty hills, Sicily's gardens green. And we gazed on Mount Vesuvius with his rugged slumbering dome. Night is the time in that red clime when the sailor thinks on home. To where the sky is clear as a maiden's eye who longs for our return. To the land where milk and honey flows and liberty it was born. So fill our sails with the favoring gales and with shipmates all around. We'll give 3 cheers for a starry flag and the Jamestown homeward bound. We strayed around Pompey's ruins.
The words liberty and freedom's shore provide a window into historically masculine, colonial, and centric perspectives, even though workers on ships were often from many cultures. Milk and honey? For whom, exactly, one might ask. Also, Forbidder's version from the Colcord book describes exotic travels of the sailors, probably making it all seem more glamorous than life at sea actually was, a device in some of the old songs to raise morale among sailors. The Jamestown Homeward Bound was a forecastle or forbidder song, sung during times of leisure on the ship's deck, for example, different from a sea shanty, which was used purely for group work. Forecastle song lyrics could describe anything from a famous naval battle to complaints about conditions on board, an amorous adventure on shore, or a sentimental piece about home and family. Let's finish with the end of the song from my group here in Rhode Island, the Atwater Donnelly Trio, in 2016.
Now we have arrived in port, and stripping's our last job. And friendly faces look around. They see that we are safe at last from the perils of the sea, saying welcome Columbia's mariners to your homes in liberty, to your homes in liberty. So fill our sails with the favoring gales and with shipmates all around. We'll give 3 cheers for our starry flag and the Jamestown homeward bound, and the Jamestown homeward bound.
Thanks, Aubrey. It looks like we've got time for a few more tunes from the Lonesome Ace Stringband, starting with Wild Bill Jones.
I wrote my true love a letter. I said, honey, come and go my bail. Well, my bail's $10,000. That's a bet I could never pay. She wrote me back a letter, said, honey, come on home someday. Well, I used to be a rambler. You could call me the rambling man. I used to be a gambler. You could call me the gambling man. Come on, you rambling rounders, while I got this money for to spend. We'll get us some old corn whiskey. Drinking's gonna be our end. I was on that old train when it blowed for the night. I was on her when she blowed for the day. She went around the curve, strained every nerve. This old engine's bound to carry me away. Pass around that old long neck bottle and we'll all go out on a spree. For today was the last of that Wild Bill Jones. Tomorrow be the last of me. I'm honest with you, there hasn't been
Really?
a lot of downs. I don't know, we both have a very similar work ethic. I think the main thing, I mean, we apart from the fact that we like love each other, and we're like, he's like a brother to me, and we're absolutely like family. And we know what the other person does well, what aspects of the business, and we leave each other alone and trust each other to do the things that we're good at. And yeah, I guess that's sort of been the secret sauce. And we both love, and we love performing. I mean, to us, that other 80% is all in service of getting to stand in front of an audience and present our art, and yeah, then so it's worth it. And we both are I think we're very tuned in the same way with that. Well, it's lonesome here, it's lonesome all the time, lonesome on that cherry river line. I went back to see her, she was always on my mind. Found her with another beneath the spreading pine, hugging and a kissing, drinking cherry wine. Lonesome here, it's lonesome all the time. Lonesome on that cherry, cherry river line. Left me here to grieve. Some other fella's got her in the Meadow Arbory. This train that I'm riding is pulling mighty slow. Hate to hear that lonesome, lonesome whistle blow. Lonesome here, it's lonesome all the time. Lonesome on that cherry, cherry river line. Someday I will forget her, no longer on my mind. But I never will forget that old cherry river line. Lonesome here, it's lonesome all the time. Lonesome on that cherry, cherry river line.
Some more hot tunes from this week's featured group, the Lonesome Ace Stringband, recorded on our stage in Mountain View, Arkansas. These Canadian wild men played the traditional tune Wild Bill Jones, followed by a medley of Cherry River Line, The Gauley Junction, and Hell Broke Loose in Georgia. Folks, this is my kind of music, and I hope you enjoyed this week's show as much as I have. Come back next week for more good music and folklore from the Ozark Mountains. This is your host, Dave Smith. Bye, everybody.
Ozark Highlands Radio is produced by Jeff Glover. Executive producer is Darren Dorton. Additional support for this program comes from Arkansas State Parks, a division of the Arkansas Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism, with 52 unique reasons to visit the natural state. On the web at arkansasstateparks.com. The Committee of 100 proudly supporting the Ozark Folk Center State Park since 1974. And by Stone Bank with roots in Mountain View, Arkansas. Stone Bank is a proud supporter of heritage musicians and small towns across America, with government-guaranteed loans for farmers, entrepreneurs, and communities. More information available at stonebank.com. For information on upcoming shows and events, we are on the web at ozarkhighlandsradio.com. Until next time, I'm Donna Farrar.